So you just got your first AccuQuilt cutter and you're not sure what to do next. Well, in this series, I'll walk you through, step by step, making your first quilt with your AccuQuilt cutter. Hi, I'm Chris from Rose City Originals, and I'm here with AccuQuilt in the Dream Studio today to help you make your first quilt. Be sure to like and bookmark this video so you can refer back to it later. The pattern we'll be using today is called Go Fundamentals, and it's available to download for free from the AccuQuilt website. And there will be a link in the description box so you can get your copy today. Before we do anything, we're going to read over our pattern to familiarize ourselves with the basics, what tools we need, what shapes we'll be cutting, and how much fabric we're going to need. Now, I wrote this pattern, so I'm pretty familiar with it already, but I highly encourage you to read through any new pattern at least once before you cut any fabric. Okay, so we've read over the pattern, so let's start gathering our supplies. For this quilt, we will need our Go Me cutter, our 8-inch Go Mix and Match cube, which comes complete with a 6-inch by 6-inch cutting mat, the 2.5-inch strip cutter, and this die is on a 6-inch by 24-inch die board, so it will fit through the Go Me cutter, a 6-inch by 24-inch cutting mat, a ½ yard of our print fabric, 1¼ yards of our background fabric. We'll also need 1 yard for the backing and ½ yard for the binding, and 1 yard of batting or a prepackaged piece that is at least 36 inches square. We also have some coordinating thread. Since you just got your AccuQuilt cutter, there's a good chance it's still in the box, so let's open that up. Pull those out. So here we have the new and improved Go Me cutter. Included in the box is your cutter, a 3-inch quarter square triangle die, a 3-inch half square triangle die, a 6-inch by 6-inch cutting mat, and a pattern book. To set up your cutter, all you need to do is place it on a sturdy surface and fold down the 2 sides, and that's it. You're ready to start cutting. Now we're going to be using the Go Mix and Match 8-inch cube set today, so we're going to want to open that up and remove the plastic from each of the dies. Each die comes shrink wrapped with a pattern card attached. You should hang on to those, and I'll show you something fun to do with them at the end of the series. It's time to start preparing the fabric. If you like, you can pre-wash or starch your fabric, or use it straight off the bolt like I'm doing here. If there are any wrinkles or creases in your fabric, you will want to make sure to iron those out before you start cutting. So when it comes to cutting your fabric, you will want to take note of the grain. Now you may be asking, what the heck is he talking about? With quilting cotton, generally there are 3 grains you need to be aware of. There is the lengthwise grain that runs parallel to the factory edge. There is the crosswise grain that runs from edge to edge. And then there's a bias grain, and that runs at a 45-degree angle across the fibers. When we run our fabric through the cutter, having the lengthwise grain perpendicular to the roller bars will give us the most accurate, perfect cut. The pattern will give us all of the cutting instructions. We'll start by rough cutting the strips that are 5 inches by width of fabric, and that's from edge to edge, and one that is 5 3/4 inches. Now you may be asking yourself, if I'm having to cut these strips, why don't I just use my rotary cutter and the ruler to cut all of the pieces? Well, right now we're rough cutting these strips to help us better manage the fabric. And when we rough cut, if we're a little bit off, it's not going to impact the finished quilt. If we cut all of our pieces this way, we would need to be much more accurate and careful. Following the pattern, we're going to take these strips and fan fold them across the die board. We're going to start with shape number 1 in the cube. That is the large square. Inside each of these specialized dies are steel blades that are designed specifically for quilters and include a 1/4-inch seam allowance and pre-clipped dog ears, but more about that later. We can cut up to 6 layers of quilting cotton in one pass through the cutter. So we're just going to lay our fabric on the die board, covering the 2-tone foam shapes, and we are going to fold it until we have 6 layers. So that's 2, 4, and 6. We'll make sure all of the blades are covered, and you can easily tell thanks to the 2-tone foam. When we're lining up the fabric, we want to use the die shape and not the edge of the die board. Next, we add on our cutting mat, and then we're going to send it through the cutter. Now we want to keep in account that lengthwise grain, and we can tell because this piece still has our selvage factory edge on it, and we want that to run perpendicular to the rolling blade in the machine. So we'll run it through like this. If there's excess fabric, you can just roll it up next to the die board. It won't cut since it's not between a blade and a cutting mat. And we just run that through the machine, turning the handle in the direction you want the die to go through. And now that that's cut, we'll give the mat a little rub to help with any static electricity and slide it off. It's best to slide the mat so that all of your cuts stay in place. It just keeps them nice and neat. And now you can see we have 6 perfectly cut squares. So for this pattern, we will need 9 squares, so I will cut a few more. So if we open up this piece, we can fan fold it again, making sure to cover the shape fully, and run it through with the lengthwise grain, again perpendicular to the roller bar. Give that a little rub and slide it off. And now we have our 9 perfectly cut squares. So we'll repeat that to cut small squares, some quarter square triangles, and some rectangle shapes, all from our background fabric. Now for our background fabric, we're going to rough cut 2 5-inch strips and 1 5.5-inch strip, according to the instructions. Now I've shown you the dies for these square shapes, but here we have the specialized dies for a half square triangle. And here you can see where we have our dog ears already clipped. That means you're not going to have to trim up your half square triangle later. So just like before, we're going to fan fold across the die board. And we can only do 6 layers of fabric. And we can do up to 6 layers of fabric, but for this pattern, we only need 8 of these shapes. And there's 2 cut at a time, so we only need 4 layers of fabric. We'll again add our cutting mat and run it through with our lengthwise grain perpendicular to the roller bar. We'll roll up that excess and send it through. And now we have our 8 perfectly cut half square triangle pieces. So for today, we're just going to cut out the shapes for the blocks. We'll return to cut the other pieces later. So before we move on, I like to take an inventory of everything I cut and match it up to the pattern to make sure I have everything I need. So that was a lot of work for today. Join me next time where we'll start assembling our blocks. So until then, you can work on picking out your perfect fabrics and getting all your pieces cut. Be sure to hit that follow button for more videos, including tips and tricks for getting the most out of your AccuQuilt cutter. Thanks for watching. See you next time.